So this panel session is organized by RHB Ocean Harmony. And in this panel session, we're going to be discussing the question, is saving corals enough in saving the oceans? And we're going to be discussing whether, when conservation efforts are centered on
the wolf, she cries at night. A breath had born in the black wind where the shadows lie.
Scientists and also members of the public can all come together and work towards conservation efforts that are meaningful and also impactful. So before we begin, I'll start with introducing our panelists. So on my left here is Dato' Adi Sadikin Ali. He is the Managing Director and CEO of RHB Islamic Bank Berhad and also the head of the RHB Group Syariah business. He has more than 25 years in the financial services industry. He holds the title of a chartered banker, and he is an avid scuba diver, just like all of us. And he is the reason why RHB has launched and started the RHB Ocean Harmony program. And on his left is Encik Effendi Yang Amri. He is a research officer at the Institute of Ocean and Earth Sciences, University Malaya. He is a coral reef ecologist. He specializes on studying the ecology and the physiology of hard corals. He has studied corals for more than 27 years, and he is the president of the Malaysian Society of Marine Sciences and the country coordinator for the Global Coral Reef Monitoring Network for East Asia. Okay, and then on his left is Dr. Aldri Amir. He is an associate professor at the Institute for Environment and Development, also known as Lestari at University Kebangsaan Malaysia. He is a mangrove ecologist specializing in mangrove habitat dynamics, conservation and management, and he is the coordinator for the Malaysian Mangrove Research Alliance, also known as My Mangrove. And last but not least, Dr. Jillian Uy, on the far end of the stage. She is an associate professor at the Department of Geography, Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, University Malaya. She is a seagrass biogeographer. Her research focuses on ecosystem function of seagrasses, the spatial distribution of seagrass species across Southeast Asia. And recently, she has been awarded the prestigious Pew Marine Fellowship to study seagrass restoration in Malaysia and also to increase awareness on seagrass conservation using cultural arts. And my name is Nur Adila Muhammad Fauzi. I am a senior lecturer at the Institute of Biological Sciences at University of Malaya. I study the genetics of marine organisms, so I'm also a scientist, and I will be your moderator for today. All right. Okay, so to start off, maybe we should have an introduction on what RHB Ocean Harmony is. So one of the projects that RHB Islamic is supporting under the Ocean Harmony initiative is Project Pulih. So Project Pulih is a multidisciplinary research project on coral restoration based at UM. And for the audience today, perhaps maybe Dato' Adi, could you tell us a little bit about the Ocean Harmony initiative and why was it that you chose to support research on corals with Project Pulih?
Right. Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Adila. And to the doctors here, see, I'm the odd one, the one without a title doctor, but at least I know being odd, it doesn't mean that you are out. I'm the only banker, and I'm proud of it. Okay, I'm sure that things that go in your mind is actually, what's a banker got to do with all this conservation, talking about, especially in the Dive Expo. So I'm here, first of all, yes, thank you for the question. You can see around that, okay, if there's RHB, that's a logo about Ocean Harmony, okay? Ocean Harmony is actually a program adopted by RHB because this is something that we do for sustainability. The buzzword now is sustainability. Everyone talks about sustainability. Even a bank has to be sustainable. And of course, there are a lot of areas about sustainability, on land, below water and all that, and we chose below water, UN, United Nations SDG 14 to be our theme of sustainability. Why? Because of a few reasons. Number one, we need to understand, okay, I'm not a scientist, these are all scientists. If I got it wrong, please correct me. Number one, the planet that we live on, this world, is actually, this earth is 75% water. That's number one. Number two, statistically, at least 50% of the oxygen that we breathe is generated from the water, the ocean. Okay? So that is enough to tell us how important that place is. Though this is not our habitat, we are all human, we are all land animal. Though it's not our habitat, but it needs to be protected. But before we protect it, as long as we know the importance, but we need to be the ones doing it, exploring it, right? Mostly, a lot of people, they are comfortable because we're all land animals. You talk about sustainability, a lot of people talk about planting trees, hugging trees and all that. So I can always say that enough, there's a lot of tree huggers, people kissing trees, but not many people are comfortable to go down there because this is not our habitat, all right? So let's try. We want to be one of the few that try to be down there, try to understand what's there, knowing what's important and how we can contribute in our little ways. So that's what we are introducing. That's the story, that's the narrative that RHB is trying to put forth. We are not a champion, but whatever little thing that we do, yes, we are bankers. I only know how to manage money. But of course, I find partners, worthy partners, the scientists. That's why, in so far as RHB is concerned, we partner with a lot of universities. We partner with a lot of organizations that just do not talk about saving the ocean, but they do it. So that's why we are partnering with a lot of people. We are open to partnering a lot more. So that's what Ocean Harmony is about, and that brings us on the stage today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato' Adi. Here's a follow-up question to that. So out of all the partners that work on ocean conservation, what was it that drew you to supporting a project on coral conservation in particular?
Good questions. Yes, in looking for partners, we would like to partner people that brings new things, because there's a lot of perspective. You talk about the marine environment. Again, I'm not qualified to talk about that, but whatever little knowledge that I can, correct me if I'm wrong, doctors, okay? So we know there's marine, there's various sub-segments in the ecosystem, okay? You have the marine life, you have the habitat, which is corals and so on. So insofar as the segment of the habitat underwater, the closest to us, because we are divers, I'm sure that a lot of divers are here. The first thing that awes us when we go down there are the corals. I'm sure that without corals, nothing much to see, right? It wouldn't be as wonderful, as awesome as it is. So first thing that came into mind is coral. And when we latch on to the scientists, they tell us that it plays a big role in the ocean ecosystem. Hence, we were then saying that, okay, let's find a worthy partner that has research on this so that we can help to relay the message of the importance of the corals to the public. Because we have reached to the public, we are a bank. We have a lot of customers, and we have a lot of customers that we're reaching out to. So that's why we latch on to Pule.
Thank you, Dato' Adi. I echo what he said, like divers really love it when we dive in a healthy coral reef. Most of our dives are centered on landing in a coral reef as in, like your boat over a coral reef and looking at healthy corals. So why are corals so important?
The wolf, she cries at night. A breath had born in the black wind where the shadows lie. Deep inside despair, our hearts grow fierce, our minds aware. We carry on, oh, we carry on, carry on. We carry on.
More than 1 million species that depends on the coral reefs itself. So they're all there, mingling with each other, interconnected, they're playing with each other, eating each other, meeting each other and whatnot. And everything is done in a web of life underwater, and all this is in the ocean in harmony, which is basically what the tagline of RHB, right? So they're all in harmony on the reef. Now for humans, this is very, very important, because with the reefs, that means with a healthy reef, we'll get a lot of seafood, food security for humans. And especially for me, that means non-stop supply of ikan pari masak ikan pedas, right? So asam pedas. So I love asam pedas so much, and if without ikan pari, then we are out. Now the focus for coral reefs are very, very important now, is because scientists all over the world, we are projecting through the changing climate, in 30 years' time, 90% of our coral reefs will be gone. All right? In 30 years' time, 90% of coral reefs around the world, not only in Malaysia, will be gone because of the changing climate. So what we need now is strong scientific-based actions by everyone. So it should be done now. So that's the focus.
Thank you, Mr. Effendi. So coral reefs are really, really important for maintaining our food security and ensuring that we have a healthy planet. But what about other marine ecosystems in the ocean? Like Dato' Adi has also said, coral reefs are not the only ecosystem in the oceans. And in Malaysia especially, mangroves are a significant marine ecosystem that can be found in the country. And actually globally, in terms of mangrove coverage, Malaysia ranks 6th in the world for mangrove coverage. So Dr. Aldri, maybe tell us about mangroves. Why are mangroves important, and also are mangroves disappearing as well, just like corals?
Thank you very much. Mangroves are very, very important. You see, this picture behind us, mangroves doesn't only make like a nice background, but it actually is a gateway to make sure corals and seagrasses and the ocean entirely become a healthy environment itself. So without mangroves, filtering all of these sediments, pollution coming from your rivers, coming from the rubbish that you throw outside your window, filtering it and let clear water flush into the ocean. So that's one of the major role mangroves play. But not just one. I have a long list of ecosystem services provided by mangroves, but that needs 3 hours for me to describe. And Adila already warned me, Aldri, 3 minutes only. So I want to highlight to all of you, echoing from what Dato' Adi and Fendi and later Jillian will highlight to all of you. Mangroves, just like seagrasses and coral reefs and the ocean entirely, provide ecosystem services from supporting biodiversity, as well as providing. They play provisioning role. They give food, like Fendi say. You eat ikan pari, your stingray, your milkfish in Malaysia, it tastes differently when you go to Philippines, when you go to Indonesia, because mangroves are cultural determinant. I would highlight it that way, yeah? Because mangroves that we have in Malaysia actually define our society. And that gives some diversity all throughout this region, Southeast Asia, as well as throughout the tropics. All right? And then I would like to point this out. Yeah? So supporting, provisioning, they also regulate a lot of natural processes. And we know seagrasses and mangroves absorb a lot of carbon from the atmosphere, as well as what phytoplanktons are doing in the ocean. And finally, like I mentioned earlier, cultural determinants. So it's not just about making a society, defining a society. It also gives a lot of value. You see, like I mentioned earlier, aesthetic value on top of educational value, scientific value, and other cultural value. Nowadays, people come to mangroves for tourism purposes. Imagine, a long time ago, we didn't care. Wetlands were considered wasteland. But now, Langkawi, for example, is benefiting a lot from bringing tourists from around the world visiting mangrove. So there you go. So, and then of course, not just mangrove, yeah, it connects to other habitats like seagrasses and coral reef as well. And finally, I know, she's already warned me, right? And then it is an agent for connectivity. So this is what I would like to highlight as well. So land and ocean, yeah, you will meet mangroves first before entering into the ocean. And I would like to highlight that mangroves are not only the signature habitat or ecosystems of the tropics together with coral reef, but they are also the friendliest ecosystem in the world. Why I say that? Because you can enter mangrove from land, you can walk, Dato' Adi, you can walk into the mangrove, buy some booties later, special discount here. And you can also swim or take boats from upstream or midstream, the river. You can enter mangrove from the ocean, going through coral reefs and seagrasses. And you can also enter mangrove from space. So like scientists, we can enter mangrove from all angles. But the key point here is that the threats affecting mangroves also can come from all angles. So there you go. So that's why, I mean, sometimes in some global databases, mangroves are ranked 6, but some ranked 3rd. It depends on which aerial imageries you are using. So a lot of ways to look at mangrove. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Audrey. So a lot of really cool points in there on the importance of mangroves. And what I want to point out or segue from is one ecosystem that Dr. Audrey has mentioned, which is seagrass. I was hoping that the picture would still be up, but in that photo you would have seen mangroves and corals, and also, if you notice, right there, so that green piece, that patch of green that you see right behind the panelists is seagrass. But no one really talks about seagrass, right? Like CSR programs focus on corals, mangroves, but no one really talks about seagrass. And so maybe this is how I'm going to bring Dr. Jillian into the conversation. You work on seagrass, also an important ecosystem in the ocean, but why is it that nobody really talks about it, almost like nobody cares about it? So maybe perhaps change our minds, tell us more about seagrass and why should we care about it?
So, nobody really cares about seagrass, yeah, ouch. But that's quite true. Seagrasses have been referred to as the ugly ducklings of the sea. And I think partly the reason is because people say seagrasses lack charisma in the same way that corals and mangroves are regarded as being very beautiful and compelling and charismatic. And I think the problem here is that we don't know enough about seagrasses. We know so much less about seagrasses than we do coral reefs. And you know the saying, like, if you don't know a lot about something, then you probably won't care about it. That applies to seagrasses. So really, if you look at Malaysia, we have so few seagrass scientists. I would say we have less than 5 well-trained seagrass scientists in Malaysia. But I see walking around this hall so many coral reef scientists. So that's part of the problem. We don't have enough people studying seagrass, advocating for it, and telling compelling stories about the beauty and services of seagrass ecosystems. So now, let's talk about seagrass ecosystems. So seagrasses are marine flowering plants that evolved around 100 million years ago to be able to live in sea water, and not many plants can do that. And they are important for so many reasons. They support coral reefs, but I'm just going to highlight 3 reasons they are important to us, and 3 reasons they're important if you actually like coral reefs. Firstly, seagrasses are the kindergartens of the sea. We put down our video cameras to record fish in seagrasses and in corals in Pulau Tinggi and Pulau Sibu and Pulau Tengah in Johor. And we found that seagrasses had 6 times more juvenile fish than adults. But coral reefs, the opposite was true. Coral reefs had more adults than juvenile fish. So we came to the conclusion, along with a lot of our other collaborators around the world, that fish go to seagrasses to breed, and when those juvenile fish reach a certain size, they move away to coral reefs, where everyone, divers all get excited about it, leading to what Fendi says, millions of biodiversity, million of life in coral reefs. But all that actually partly originated from seagrasses. Second reason, seagrasses filter and purify seawater so that coral reefs can thrive. And this was found to be true in Sulawesi, Indonesia, where they had a bad sewage problem. And they found that coral reefs had 50% less disease-causing bacteria if they were growing next to seagrass. And thirdly, seagrasses can do something coral reefs cannot. They can absorb and store carbon. So, because of that, corals really need seagrasses. And I would say that if this was a Marvel universe, coral reefs would be like Iron Man, like heroic, wealthy, flashy, but very vulnerable. And I love coral reefs as well, and I'm a fan of Iron Man, but I have to say, Iron Man is vulnerable because you take away his suit and he crashes like a dodo, right? Now that expensive suit, that's seagrass and mangroves.
Wow. I hope that just convinced everybody that seagrass is really important and everybody should care about it. And it's true, and I believe it wholeheartedly. And from whatever that's been said on stage, it's very clear that all 3 ecosystems are actually interconnected with each other. Corals need mangroves and seagrass to filter the seawater, and then the seagrass is actually where baby fish grow up, and then before they move on as adults to coral reefs and attain beautiful colors that divers like to take photos of. So I would almost since Dr. Gillian brought up the Marvel universe, right? Like I'm thinking about these 3 ecosystems as 3 superheroes, and if they're working together, it's like the power of 3. They're much stronger together rather than being in isolation, right? But still, corals get all the attention, right? So if we only focus on saving the corals and mangroves and seagrass die off, can corals survive without the other 2, Mr. Fendi?
Okay, all right. We're talking about superheroes, my favorite. All right, so the power of 3. So if you have a situation or an area where you have all 3 ecosystems together, the mangroves, the corals, and the seagrass, that area could be the most resilient area that can withstand the changing climate, right? Now, and they are all interconnected, helping each other, supporting with babies around, food and whatnot. If the corals lose the seagrass and the mangroves, or even the seagrass and mangroves lose corals, because at the moment, the situation is the corals are going first, at what we are seeing out there. So if I terbalikkan the story, if if the seagrass and mangroves lose the corals, therefore, the corals are usually protecting the seagrass and mangroves from very, very strong currents, very strong waves. If the corals are not there, that means the seagrass and mangroves will also be affected. So what I'm saying here is that if the power of tree, one of them is gone, the other two will suffer. If two is gone, then the third one will surely also suffer. Especially the changing climate is now here. We need all three together so that it will be more resilient to what's coming. If it's not, then we are in very dark times. Yep.
Okay, so seems like the rise in the warming planet is the issue. That's how corals are going to go first. And I'm going to direct the next question to Dr. Jillian again, and perhaps Dr. Audrey can also jump in. So we know that rising sea temperatures are going to be bad for the corals, but is it also bad for mangroves and seagrass?
Yes, it's bad for seagrass in my case, but seagrasses won't suffer as quickly as corals will. I think because corals' temperature limits are lower, whereas for seagrasses, they'll start to die out at around 32 degrees to 38 degrees Celsius. And I think we'll need another 50 years to get to that. So we still have time. However, I must say that I'm not worried so much about the warming climate effects on seagrass. I'm more worried about us humans, our activities actually. And seagrasses are declining so rapidly in Malaysia. By the end of this talk, which will be almost 1 hour, the estimate is that we would have lost seagrass meadows the size of 2 football fields. So that's a much faster rate than for corals and mangroves. And that decline is mainly due to water pollution, sewage, agricultural effluent, industrial effluent, and also land reclamation. People choose to reclaim land on seagrass meadows, like they dump a whole lot of sand on it in order to build malls, golf courses, luxury condominiums. I think that is that's just going to affect the whole ecosystem and will threaten livelihoods of local communities and indigenous people who depend on seagrass meadows.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jillian. So I'm assuming, Dr. Audrey, those same threats also threaten mangroves as well. And so a lot of CSR programs run by corporate institutions, they do mangrove planting, right? Because I understand people want to help. They understand that land reclamation is bad. We're releasing pollution into waterways. So Dr. Audrey, is this helpful for mangroves? Like these mangrove planting programs that people do?
Yeah, this is very tricky. I have a yes and no answer for that. You see, to help in mangrove conservation, if you like, this is like another umbrella topic, right? It is not just about planting. So this is where the gap is among corporate organizations, even among communities. So we learn a lot from communities, and communities are yearning to learn a lot from us scientists as well. But then, when corporate organizations with a lot of money come in, they become blinded. Most of these communities, they become blinded. Scientists too, right? So what's important in assisting in mangrove conservation, seagrass conservation, coral reef conservation too, is to empower the science. So we need to understand the causes of disturbances. Dr. Jillian already highlighted some of the causes just now. So rectify that first. What are the impacts on that mangrove? What causes them to die off? So rectify that through by using scientific evidences. So do this study, and then monitor or promote natural regeneration. This is what we are promoting now. The scientists, like, we push for the understanding of the ecosystem, and then if that mangrove area require assistance, then planting will be endorsed as assisted regeneration method or approach. So this is the way to go. So basically, in other words, conservation using brain. So this is why we are here to assist. And we are here not for long, by the way. We need all of you, the younger one, Gautam, I see there in the crowd, and so many other younger researchers there, out there. Do help us. I see Dr. Maiza there and her UMT team. Also, looking for supports and looking to groom more scientists for the future. Malaysia needs that. So we need the brain, we need knowledge from the ground, local communities especially, because they are the first beneficiary. This is another big gap, major gap. When we do restoration, for example, involve communities because they live there for many generations already. So they know the area, they know the history of the area, they know the causes of the disturbances, they know the culprit, in fact. They know the bad people who actually disturb that area, encroach in that area. So work together with them, and then government also. Don't be too selfish, because these communities and scientists as well, we can be your eye and ear to assist in protection, to assist in conservation as well. So I hope I answer your question, Adila. Thank you.
You did. Thank you so much, Dr. Audrey. So, so if I could summarize what he said, for mangroves, and I'm assuming for seagrass as well, the focus should be on removing the threats to the ecosystem, rather than going in and planting without actually using science to support whatever that you're doing. But in the case of corals, right, as Encik Effendi has explained, we're in a race against time. So even if we remove the human-caused threats from coral reefs, it's still being threatened by the rising global temperatures. So, and I know all of us are divers, and I'm sure, like most of us, has thought about planting corals or joining dives in which you can do coral restoration work, because it's really, we want to save the thing that we love so much. But Encik Fendi, does coral planting actually work?
Okay, from my view as a scientist at the moment, most of it is no. I'm saying no because of when we looked at all the coral rehabilitation, coral restoration work that's being done in Malaysia and around the region, less than 5% of what we are doing out there has scientific proof that it works. So this is worrying because we have very limited time, we have very limited manpower, we have very limited funds to do all this. And we can't be doing things that does not have a strong scientific backing. So it's very, very worrying. The first step that all coral rehabilitation or coral projects around that needs to be doing is that you need to have a coral biologist in your team to assess and to make sure that whatever you're doing is good, and to share it with the wider community, because we need methods that scientifically work, and also it can be upscaled to cover bigger reefs and not only small areas. Yeah. So Project Puleh, with the support of RHB Islamic, we at Project Puleh in what we are doing is that we are trying out the general methods that everyone is using to see if it actually works or not. Second, what we are trying to do is that if there are groups out there that's doing coral rehabilitation, coral restoration, we can help you guys to actually check it out, assess they're doing well and not, and share it with everyone out there so that we can work together, because we don't only need connectivity between ecosystems, we need connectivity between everyone that does coral rehabilitation and coral restoration, right? We need to be talking together and getting the best method that is scientifically proven, because as humans also, we don't want to take a medicine that is not proven. We need to give medicine to the reefs that actually is proven that it works, because we are running out of time. The window for us to have strong scientifically based methods or interventions for coral rehabilitation is closing fast. We really need that. Yeah. So I would say that also coral rehabilitation is not the only thing that we should be doing. The other thing is that we need to support or establish new MPA areas that are connected. And second, we need to improve the water quality of the seas. And third, we need money to do this all. So we need partnerships with industry, with private sectors, so that good groups out there is funded by good people. I think that's it.
Thank you for the applause. Yeah, that was thank you, Encik Effendi. And since he mentioned money, I'm gonna draw the conversation back to Dato' Adi. So having heard the pitches from everybody here, it's very clear that corals, seagrass, and mangroves are all important. So does this inspire you to expand ocean harmony to cover mangroves and seagrass, or does RHB Islamic have plans to support other marine ecosystems other than corals?
Good question to the money man. Yes, I run a bank, and there's a lot of money that we're handling, but it's not my money, okay? It's your money, public money. But whatever it is, okay, joke aside. And of course, another joke, I'm sitting here with Iron Man, whatever, right? They're all claiming to be heroes. So I was thinking, what should I be then? I'll be somebody. Okay, we will be the Nick Fury.
That's pretty good.
So that fixer of all whatever. So here we are. Nick Fury will bring in the money, number one. Whatever money that we have, that we can commit. But of course, we are not superhero. The bank alone cannot do it. So why we are here? Number one, we are here to communicate the story. The story, science-based story. These are not just things that follow people. I know that when we had interactions with Dr. Fendi and the team, because we picked coral as the first thing that we want to explore in. So we had a talk. We went through some real coral planting activity and all that. And from there, even our team learned that you can't just be planting any coral anywhere. It has to be science-based, based on their research. Certain things is befitting certain places. So I think that's one of the point that we have experienced. Let's not do following people blindly. It has to be science-based. So there's a lot of sciences. But for us, the non-science guys, these are partners, worthy partners. So we need to work together. Of course, the scientists may not have the money, but the public may have the money. And so people like us, the banks, we can convey the message. We can connect other dots with monies, whatever little money that you have, okay? That people that cares for the environment. You can even choose any of the superhero or whatever lah, right? Even in the case of the seaweed, during association with the seagrass, see, no, non-science guy, okay, seagrass. During this association with Dr. Gillian, then being a Malay, I was ashamed that I do not know the word setu. Setu is actually the Malay name for seagrass. And I was really ashamed. I said, oh man, Melayu ni, tapi tak tahu nama dia. Okay, all right. So that's one of the few things that I learned. And I think that this learning needs to be conveyed to the public so that people are aware. Number two, the interest comes in, and then they have the desire to step up in whatever manner at little things that they do on their own, or even contribute whatever few cents that they can, so that we can all benefit. So yes, we started with coral, but we are open to looking at other things because these are information. These are stories. These are the essential things that needs to be done, that for people to be aware, then they would have interest and desire to help in whichever manner that they want. I think okay, so that's the words from the Nick Fury.
Thank you, Dato' Adi. Thank you so much for sharing. So it's really, really heartwarming to hear that associating with scientists has inspired you and made you learn things. And when you do fun diving, has it changed your perspective? Like when you're not doing coral planting, you're just diving for fun, for leisure. Has it changed your perspective underwater?
Okay. For the divers out there and the soon-to-be divers, okay? The fact that you are here, I know that you're going to be soon-to-be divers. First of all, I know that people dive for purpose. And I know that in common, you have recreation as your purpose, right? But during our dives and our association with partners, we found other purpose, worthy purpose for our dives. Number one is recreation, put that aside. But we found another purpose of diving whereby when we dive, we see the awesome, the great God gift that is entrusted to us as human. At the same time, we see distractions, and these are the ones that's worrying. So we found a purpose in such that in our dives, we have a narrative, we have a story to tell other humans, okay? When we go up back on land, we will tell our story. Bro, it's a wonderful place, but it is under threat. Doesn't matter whatever, mangrove or whatever, okay? Mangrove is even easier to see, but underwater, it's not visible to all. So we have a story to tell. The narrative to tell other fellow humans from our dives that it's wonderful, it needs to be protected. And of course, the sciences from the scientists will back it up. Okay, that's the second purpose. Third purpose, of course, this is not within the ambit of the forum, but I don't mind selling the story. Have you ever thought that someone with physical disabilities can dive? I never thought until I came across, okay, an organization, NGO called Dive Heart Malaysia. This is an NGO that helps the less fortunate people, okay, who has certain disabilities to dive. And I think this is another purpose that we have come across, a worthy purpose. For divers, even it's a humbling experience for me, okay, to be able to help another human who has the wish, who has the will to do things that without our assistance, they can't be doing it. So that's another purpose. So for all, if you have a heart, step up, try to help in whichever way that you can. We are helping another human so that together we help the planet. So that's my tagline. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato' Adi. If I could summarize that with a Malay saying, tak kenal maka tak cinta. If you don't know something, you won't love something. That's like the rough translation of it. So divers actually have a very important role in advocacy because we are able to show to those who has not dived yet the wonders of the underwater world that needs to be protected. We have a couple more minutes. Is there a question from the audience? Does anyone in the audience have a question for the panelists up here before we wrap up? Oh, no questions? Well, I'll ask a question. So we're all divers, right? We all know where to dive in coral reefs. Dr. Jillian, where can divers dive to see beautiful seagrass?
In Peninsular Malaysia, my favorite diving spot to see seagrass would be Pulau Tinggi, Pulau Sibu, Pulau Tengah, in the Mersing group of islands. In Sabah, Semporna area is great. If you've been to the Luma Selakan booth, I mean, you stay over the water right on a reef flat with seagrass beneath it, so that's great. So those are the few spots with lush meadows of seagrass, grass as far as your eye can see underwater.
Thank you for sharing. I agree. I've dived in Pulau Tinggi and Lumak Selatan. Oh my God, so gorgeous. Any questions? Okay, just very quickly, just to end. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I hope the conversation that we've had on stage has, has given us some food for thought, and for us to come to think about coming together to come up with actionable strategies that work towards more meaningful and impactful coral conservation strategies that are integrated with conserving other ecosystems in the marine world, so that we can all protect this planet of ours. All right. So just to wrap up, before you go, go shopping, but please visit the RHB Ocean Harmony Pavilion. Sign up for the debit card. You can also contribute cashless payments, and at the same time make donations towards Life Below Water. And thank you so much, and happy shopping.
Okay, corals, and that was the topic, RHB Ocean Harmony Corals. So what is saving corals enough in saving the oceans? Thank you to our moderator and to our panelists as well for that segment. And of course, coming up shortly, we shall be having our next topic on stage, which is brought to you by Amino Azmi. And the topic is called Selakan Island, Crafting the Ideal Underwater Macro Paradise. So stay tuned. Thank you. Right, once again, a very good morning to all visitors. Welcome back to the 19th the Malaysia International Dive Expo 2025. Right here at the main stage, we have ongoing speakers, we have forums, and of course, we've got the kids zone. We have lots to explore. We've got the grand lucky draw. We've got the lucky draws. Well, the more you shop, the bigger the chances are for you to obtain the lucky draw segment, which is commencing at 6 p.m. onwards. Yeah.